40 shots hitting on 3s with rerolls, wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s, arriving 9 inches from your prize unit. I'm Wes, this is D6 Evolution, and in this episode of Know Your Enemy, I'm talking Deathwatch. Point for point, Deathwatch have one of the highest damage outputs in the game right now, and are surprisingly resilient, and that's why they're going to be on the top tables. D6 Evolution does regular tactics videos and interviews with some of the UK's top players, all aimed at making you a better player. Please subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with the latest video releases. In this episode of Know Your Enemy, you'll gain an overview of some of the units and rules that you're likely to see and how they work, and being D6 Evolution, we're going to give you some ideas of what you need to be thinking about in order to beat them. If you're a Deathwatch player or you've played against them, please take a moment and share your comments below. Let's have a look. With the exception of aggressors and interceptors, Deathwatch bolt weapons have access to 4 types of special issue ammunition. The one you're most likely to see is the Hellfire round. This wounds all units on a 2+, with the exception of vehicles and Titanic units. This is huge. Whether you're a guardsman or a Primarch, you are wounded on a 2+. Other types allow a 6-inch range boost, 3 inches for pistols, and AP improved by 1. Another reduces the range by 6, 3 inches for pistols, and improves the AP by 2. The final one adds 1 to hit rolls when targeting units in cover. Hellfire is definitely the go-to here, however a seasoned player may consider using the AP improving types when shooting at low toughness units, especially when in cover. The unit that you are most likely to see is the Deathwatch Veterans. With a base of 5 veterans armed with storm bolters, firing 4 shots each at 12 inches, 2 shots at 24 inches, the player will add other models and upgrades to suit their needs. A biker will add a 14-inch movement to the unit, extending their reach, while still firing 4 shots. Not only this, it allows a teleport homer to be placed in the Deathwatch player's deployment zone. Any unit then that has a Terminator can be teleported with all models in the units within 6 inches of that beacon. This is a biggie. Units that appear out of position can quickly redeploy across the table. To stop this, you must get a unit within 9 inches of the beacon and it will be removed from the table. Terminators not only add manoeuvrability to the units, but survivability too, as it can tank a huge number of low AP shots while still pumping out 4 shots in return with their storm bolters. Vanguard veterans allow the unit to fall back from combat and still shoot normally. Also, with a 12-inch movement, they will act as a link between the biker and the slower members of the unit, if the player is trying to extend their reach. Finally, the Black Shield. Often overlooked, but this guide means that the unit must heroically intervene if they can do so, which, if the player is sneaky, doesn't necessarily mean it will get into combat, if that's not in their interest to do so, but can gain them precious movement. Check out our charge phase tactics video if you want to know more. If they do make it into combat, unless you previously declared them as a target, you won't be able to strike them back. Be warned, if there's a Black Shield, stay out of 3-inch intervention range. Now, if the Terminators don't make the unit tanky enough, expect to see several Storm Shields giving them a 3+ invulnerable saves when dealing with high AP shots. This unit also has Defenders of Humanity, which means the unit scores objectives regardless of the number of models, unless you two have a similar rule. And if that wasn't enough, for 1 CP each, up to 3 units can be placed in the Teleportarium to come on from reserve 9 inches from your models. Make sure you screen your high value units. This is a very high damage potential unit that is very capable of taking a lot of misplaced firepower. High rates of firepower, range advantage, and aided by a screen and mortal wounds are going to be the way to deal with them. Deathwatch players, how do you build your squads and what do you fear? Intercessor squads are less seen but still very effective. They start with 5 intercessors, generally armed with bolt rifles, firing 2 shots each at 30-inch range if it doesn't move, thanks to the bolter discipline beta rule. Similar to veterans, the Deathwatch player will then build units to suit their needs. Inceptors allow the unit to fall back from combat and still shoot. It has a 10-inch move extending the reach of the unit. Aggressors allow the unit to advance and fire assault weapons without penalty. Coupled with assault bolters on intercessors, this unit becomes surprisingly fast while not sacrificing too much firepower. Taking a combination of 5 aggressors and inceptors lifts the toughness of the unit to 5, increasing their durability, especially when in cover. Aggressor-based squads will either be static objective holders, allowing them to fire twice, so ensure that you stay out of 18 inches, otherwise you'll be on the receiving end of a huge amount of firepower coming your way. Or you'll see them moving relatively fast into charge range, giving the respectable 22-inch potential charge threat range from an Inceptor. Reavers -1 to leadership to units within 3 inches. They don't add too much to the Intercessor squads, so you're unlikely to see them. Hellblasters add some high strength and AP to units. Expect to see them run in units of 5, using Intercessors as ablative wounds. Potentially toughness 5 and a 2+ save in cover and 2 wounds, Intercessor squads are surprisingly resilient with a good range and rate of fire. Watch out for units in the Teleportarium and screen your vulnerable units out to 15 inches in order to keep them out of double tap range with bolt rifles and plasma incinerators. Also consider careful objective placement or some other way to draw them out of cover. What Intercessor combos have you seen, and how have you countered them? The Bolter Discipline Beta rule means that a 3-man bike unit can put out 12 shots at 24 inches. The Sergeant can take a Storm Bolter for an extra 4 shots and a Storm Shield to give a 3+ invulnerable save, with toughness 5 makes them really resilient. Not only that, they bring another teleport homer to the table. Here, range and high rate of fire and a good use of terrain will be your friend when facing these bikes. Watch Captains and Masters are buff characters that give you rerolls to 1s to hit and all misses respectively. You'll see them supporting 1 or 2 squads at a time. Unless configured as a slam type captain, they don't offer too much direct threat compared to the rest of the Deathwatch army.
Beacon Angelus is a valuable relic that allows one unit to teleport within 6 inches of the bearer and 9 inches away from the enemy. Having units that are close proximity to the bearer can screen out the use of this relic.
Now let's talk stratagems. There are various doctrine stratagems which complement mission tactics, allowing your unit to add 1 to their wound rolls against a chosen army roll, for example, elites. You're likely to see these coupled with non-specialist ammo units such as Hellblasters and Aggressors. They can also reroll wounds against the Warlord. Try to recognise the target priority and screen to keep the Deathwatch out to that double tap range to reduce this effectiveness. Auspex Scan allows a Deathwatch unit to shoot at your unit entering from reserve. Make sure you stay out of 12 inches from threat units to prevent this. As Xeno Hunters, the Deathwatch have a dedicated stratagem for each faction. Orcs suffer 1 inch reduction to their charge distance for each orc killed in Overwatch. This is a potential counterfeit to jump. Consider charging a raw resilient unit in first. Tau Markelites can be removed from a unit, so refrain from putting all Markelites onto one unit. Eldari fly units can be shot in their own movement phase if they are within 12 inches. This includes moving out of 12 inches too. Make sure you screen those Tasty Talos units. However, they do suffer -1 to hit, so this could be an ideal opportunity to use that lightning fast reaction stratagem for units that actually have access to it. Tyranid Synapse characters can be sniped even if they're not the closest unit. Range and line of sight can really help you out here. A Deathwatch unit can nominate a Necron unit, and that suffers -1 to reanimation protocols if it's within 12 inches. Are there any other stratagems, relics or warlord traits that you've come up against and that stand out to you? Deathwatch units are flexible, durable and dish out a lot of wounds if played right, but they're naturally slow. Take out those teleport homers and you're just dealing with the Marines on foot. Generally speaking, Deathwatch have a 24 to 30 inch threat, so most armies can actually outrange them. It's really important to stay out of that double tap range, that special issue ammunition, so screen 12 but preferably 15 inches. Deathwatch are going to be reserve on the first turn, so use that turn to push out that screen.
Other than a few relics and stratagems that deal D3 mortal wounds, Hellblasters are the only real anti-vehicle unit in the army, so expect them to cover that with allies, normally a knight. Watch out for that Beacon Angelus redeploy. And finally, Deathwatch units are vulnerable to mortal wounds, so think about how you can deal those. Orbital bombardments, psychic powers, or even exploding vehicles can be your friend here. Please share your Deathwatch experiences below and let us know what you think of the new Know Your Enemy series and what you'd like to see in the future. If you want more in-depth information, please check out our Winning with Deathwatch video. I'd also like to thank Prot from Prot's 40k gaming blog for the information that he provided in Deathwatch. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Know your enemy.